Alright, so what we have here is a bonus lecture. Just for fun, just in case you want more information, which is always good. This is another assignment for another class, but I just wanted you to see some of the stuff that we can do in Maya. It's not just about creating, really realistic looking stuff, but we can also do more stylized kind of things. Um, this is what it actually looks like. Where'd my stuff go? Oh, there we go. This is actually what it looks like inside of the render. This is what it rendered out as, just this flat coloring. And then based on some other stuff, I can make it have that 3D look to it. A little more apparent right there. And then I can even add stuff like the wireframe on top of it. You can see that's the things that we're dealing with over here. Okay. And I've added a little vignette. So I'm going to open up our recent projects, car console. And I'll save this as next door. So here's what I did inside After Effects with our with the 3 renders. You only need to do one, but just so you can see some of the stuff that you can do. After Effects is critically important to doing some of the stuff inside of Maya, because once we get it out, we need to be able to still play with it and manipulate it and do stuff with it. So I've basically taken all 3 of these cameras that we have. I dropped it onto the new comp button right here. Single comp. Use dimensions from, it's fine, hit OK. And then it gives me all 3 of these in one composition. So then what I did was I'm going to jump back to this one, is I used my scale, I hit S, so I can go to scale, and I can play with the size of this piece of footage. And then I can just move it around wherever I want. And then what I did was I added a stroke to it. So over here in the effects and presets, I can type in stroke, and I added the Trapcode 3D stroke onto it. So I just drag it right on, and it picks up that I'm using a mask, because I had to draw a little mask on here so that I could draw an outline around it. And then I have this little path, so that way I have just something there. If I don't have that, it looks kind of funny, just kind of sitting. Having that kind of sets it a little bit nicer. Okay, so I can play with the color of the mask, play with the thickness of the mask, starting, the feathering, whatever else. Lots of different things in there. Okay, and then I reposition this, and then I have these. So it's just a quick little comp just to kind of show off, if this is an actual product we're demonstrating. Here's a way that we can show it off a little bit better, is by showing different aspects of it at different times. Okay, so you really get an idea of just, as far as display goes, it's not simply just about rendering your stuff out, slapping it into a movie, and then giving it to the client. Sometimes they want to go after and tweak some of those settings. Okay, and here's the cool thing too. If I decide, oh, I really don't like this one here, I wish I could swap these 2. All I have to do is make sure I grab the correct one. So this is number 3. And I believe number 1 is that one, so that's 2 is the other one. So I'm going to hold Alt, drag number 2 onto this. And you can see how number 2 is just swapped into there. Everything, the positioning, scaling, everything else has been adjusted. And then I can go to 2, and I can just drop in number 3 on that one. So now I've just swapped these 2. And then I can just hit undo to get them back, so I like them back the way they were before. Okay. Now this is just the After Effects part. A couple things we're going to see on this. Let me just open up camera 3, I think it is, or 2. Camera 2. If we look at this, you can see that as I get further away, it's a little bit fuzzy back here. And this is actually, as I get closer, it's not fuzzy, it's actually pretty clear. And there's actually a little bit of a glow to it as well. I'm going to jump over to a program called Nuke, hopefully. And some of the stuff you can do inside After Effects, it's just not as user-friendly inside After Effects. And Nuke, you have to play around with it, just to get comfortable with the tool. But just like anything else, you play around with it, and it really opens up a lot of doors into creating something fantastic. All right, so this is inside Nuke. It's a little bit different than you may be used to. But what I've done is I've read in. Here's my original piece of footage, and then let me go to my end piece of footage. There we go. So here is the end. It's kind of like the before and the after shot. So there we go. So you can see the difference in coloring here, and as I jump up to a higher frame, you can see we definitely get a little bit of glow. And if you look, these are pretty clear. You can pretty much read those, but then it gets fuzzier, okay? And so what I've done on this is I've created depth of field. So inside Maya, I rendered some stuff out that allowed me to do that. I'm just going to scoot this over here so we can see this a little bit better. Pull this down. Okay. So I've rendered out, here's my regular rendering. This is what basically you would have outside of Maya, is just this rendering of your stuff. Okay, there it is. Beautiful, wonderful, gorgeous. And I rendered out this guy. This is called an ambient occlusion pass. And it's essentially, it tries to find all the areas where objects are very, very close to each other, and it creates these contact shadows. Okay, so you can see the dark areas that are inside here. So I've taken that, and I put it on top of my stuff and multiplied it. Okay, so there is before, here's the after. So you can see how that just adds another level of dimension, a little bit of depth to my model. Okay, so that's an ambient occlusion pass. And then what I've done is I've set up what's called a depth pass. And a depth pass is essentially a gradient from stuff that's very, very close to the camera to stuff that's very, very far away. And as I play with this, you can probably see the change in this, where we can actually kind of see bits of the geometry in here. So I can kind of see, if I zoom in close, I can kind of see the cup holders right here. If I can enhance this, I need to make it more visible, but they are there. It's just a subtle change from one value to the other. Okay, so using that, Maya can read on that and create this depth pass, where I can literally go in here and say, okay, what do I want to be in focus? I take this focus point, I want this to be in focus. So now that's in focus. So nope, I want this stuff to be in focus. So I put my focus point there. And then by playing with my settings here, I'm going to crank this up further than I want to go. But you can see how now this is fuzzy while this is still crystal clear. Okay? And I can adjust the depth of the field, have more things in focus or less things in focus. I can move this focus point around, like I said before, and change where my actual focus point is. Okay, so I can do lots of cool things like that. And then I can add, they have grade nodes in here. These are just color channels. So I just adjusted my coloring of this. I just gave it a little bit of a tint. And then what I did is I added in this mask here. Let me go render this. There we go. Let me fix my ZD focus, make sure I'm in focus up here. There we go. So I added in, this is another rendering that I did, is just rendered out this red screen. And that red screen is just where I want my glowing to happen. So then I can take that and apply it to a glow. And then inside of my Nuke, I can add this glow to this. And I can adjust the size of the glow. I can adjust the brightness of it. I can adjust the saturation of it, and so on. Lots of different things that I can play with to really get this thing to kind of pop and do exactly what I want it to do. Okay, but these are all post effects that, you know, we're not doing this stuff inside Maya, we're doing it inside Nuke. You can really see that depth of field on this, where we have this fuzziness here, and it just goes right up into focus. It's really cool stuff. You really, to appreciate all of this, the stuff you see in movies, this is where all that magic happens, is in a program like Nuke, where they're basically, this is putting it together. Okay, so all of this stuff that I have here that I just showed, that's for one of my views. And then I did the same thing for one of my other views. I did the same exact thing for one of my other views. And this is how quick Nuke is. You know, if we were to do this in After Effects, it might take, you know, a couple more extra minutes. But in Nuke, all I have to do is take this whole thing and copy it, paste it, and then just read in the correct nodes. So I would just say, okay, instead of this guy, I'm just going to load in the new guy. Boom, and then the new one would be updated to that as well. Okay, so it's very, very quick to do that kind of stuff. It's just a matter of getting your head around Nuke to understand some of that stuff. If you want to play more with Nuke, I have videos on YouTube that go over some of the Nuke stuff. And then there's also videos on YouTube from the Foundry. That's who creates it. So if you go to the Foundry Nuke YouTube, you can download a 15-day trial of Nuke. You can also download a personal learning edition. But the Foundry has a whole bunch of videos on their site that go over a whole bunch of Nuke stuff. And there's actually Nuke 8 is coming out soon. We're currently on Nuke 7. Okay, you can even model inside of Nuke. I'll show you if I hit Tab. This is like their 3D viewer, and I can actually create models inside here. And my sound is going off. Okay, so there's lots of things you can see on here, learn, do, whatever. So just a bonus, just I wanted to show you just more things that you can do with it. It's not just kind of like going to Maya, render some stuff out, and you're done. You can do a whole lot more stuff to make it look extra super duper cool. All right, so there's your bonus.